guys. This will be our first ever podcast on the channel, like proper. So the Fortnite one's being discontinued, and I have three more for NHL. We're gonna start a fourth one. So as soon as this video is released, you can check out the details. I pretty much explained everything in there. For each one of these podcasts, they're gonna be pictures only. There's only gonna be one picture, and I'm gonna be talking with audio. So once this video is up, you can go to the podcast section, click on the podcast, and then you could read the details that I put in there. It explains pretty much everything, right? So this is our playoff race podcast. So basically, we talk about which teams I believe will make the playoffs in the current state and what shot of the playoffs they have. So this episode will be Chaos in the East, as I'll be covering the Eastern Conference, uh, like playoff spots. So yeah, let's get into it. So right now it's quite chaotic in the East with these spots. You got the top five. I think like we're gonna like it's secured for the top five for the Maple Leafs, Carolina, Florida, New York, and Boston. I think those teams are definitely secured in their spots. Toronto has like games in hand on so many teams. No team has games in hand on Toronto. So, yeah, that pretty much makes them a safe team. So, right now, the standings Boston, New York, Florida, Carolina, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, and Detroit are making the playoffs in the standings. Thing here is the Capitals now, who are in ninth, with a game in hand on the Islanders and two against Red Wings. So now the Capitals have two games to play, and if they can just get a point in one of them, they tie the Red Wings. And if they got a win, they'd be in the playoffs while the Red Wings would be knocked out. And the New York Islanders could also get a win here. But the thing is, Detroit, like, they're not in a great spot. And then Washington has a game tonight against Calgary. And the Buffalo Sabres also have a game against the Kraken. The Sabres are mostly unlikely to make the playoffs, as they do not have a game in hand on anyone except for Boston, who are like 26 points ahead of them. So, yeah, that wouldn't matter. So, the Sabres aren't in a great spot. The Islanders are in quite a good spot. Philadelphia, Washington, if they win both of their next two games, would actually be ahead of Philadelphia. Even if Philadelphia gets another point, like, in an air battle, like Washington would be ahead of them. So then that leaves you with Pittsburgh here, who has a decent shot, but not that great. Unless they go on like a crazy 6-0 run, I hardly see them making it. New Jersey, man, they were doing quite good, but they've just been way too inconsistent. They were like 2 points out of making it, but then they ended up just like really messing up. And then Montreal, Ottawa, Columbus, there's no way those teams are making it. So yeah, it's really chaotic here though in the East. It's New Jersey, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, New York, Washington, Detroit, Philadelphia, and maybe Tampa, but I can't count out the Tampa group. For me, Tampa's gonna be in. Tampa's gonna make it. Even though they're in one of the wild card spots right now, I'd say they're gonna make it. So it's basically gonna be a battle for the last two playoff spots with Philly and Detroit. Right now, though, in the current state, I think I see Washington sneaking in to the playoffs, and honestly, I do see Detroit taking the other wild card spot and not really Philly. Or Philly will take the other spot from Detroit. That's what I see happening. So Philly's either eighth or out, Detroit's eight or out, and Washington's seven, eight or out. That's my thing, like standings here. Thing is, Washington could uh, also maybe catch up to Tampa if Tampa does go cold next few games. If Tampa loses the next two games, Washington could take the sixth spot in the playoffs. And right now, the current matchups would be Toronto versus Florida, Boston versus Tampa, New York versus Detroit, and Carolina versus Philly. Those are those sound like great matches though. Like New York versus uh, Detroit, that could be a really good match. But I definitely do see Washington taking one of the spots because they've been like they're on a two-game winning streak right now. Like they've been hot recently. So they win here against Calgary tonight. They take the spot of Detroit in the playoffs and still have one game in hand. Detroit's got to start heating up here if they want to keep it going. The Penguins and the Devils play tomorrow night. Both teams are like almost equal points uh, of going, but the Devils, I think it's time to count them out. They're not in a good spot. Like the games they've got in hand, not fantastic. And then like yeah, I don't think it's gonna work. So Pittsburgh could take this game, and then they would uh, either be 5 or 3 points, 5, 3 or 4 points out of a spot, depending on where Washington is. If they win tonight or lose in OT. If Washington does lose in OT, they are taking Detroit's spot. So there's a lot of teams here that have a chance. Detroit's uh I don't know about them, but they really need to heat up if they want to make it. New Jersey, they've been um not playing good. Yeah, so unless they go, we have seen a miraculous run though, six and going on a 6 game winning streak last year. Florida went on a 6 game heater to be able to reach the playoffs, and New Jersey could actually do that, but they've really got to get the belief in their room. And the last three teams in the conference, definitely not. Yeah, these are where my standings are. The next one will be about the West, uh, and who I see is sneaking into the playoffs. So yeah, this is the first ever episode of this new podcast. So yeah, the picture isn't fully covered. I won't be able to fully get it working. The picture won't be like full in until like I've uploaded my first video to the podcast. Still might not go for a few days, so it's gonna be like more scuffed with the picture. But yeah, this is the Playoff Race podcast, and we had some good things to talk about today. And next time, we'll talk about our Western swing, which is definitely not as chaotic as the East. I'll tell you that. But yeah, have a great rest of your day, and I really hope that you look forward to more of these episodes in the future. There's gonna be more on Toronto Maple Leafs, which yeah, obviously they're my favorite team, so I'm gonna make one dedicated to them, and NHL like league wide, which is where I just talk about like quite a few teams in the league and like about them, what they could do and stuff. But yeah, have a great rest of your day, and peace out.